Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and we are back again with these November predictions. These are going to be our last ones before we start hitting some real official industry award shows. And today, we're going to be talking about our acting predictions, and it kind of works out perfectly because the actor strike, it is over, and we'll go all over who this benefits and who this hurts in the race. But in terms of what we have here, Matt just saw Poor Things.
Oh, I just saw Poor Things. Oh, I saw Poor Things, and it is everything I wanted and more. Let's talk awards chances. Is it winning Best Picture? I'm going to say no. I think that it could. I'm not going to rule it out entirely, but it would be by far the most sexually explicit, most uncomfortable movie to ever win. It is quite graphic, not just in the sex, but also in the gore. Is the Academy going to go for something that has graphic scenes of brain surgery and corpses that are just like cut open? I don't know. It's going to be one of the best nominations ever. It's so wonderful, wild, creative. There will never be another movie nominated for Best Picture like this ever again. I think Emma Stone, we'll probably talk about this in a little bit, Emma Stone is running away with it. I don't know how anyone could win. Lily Gladstone is the only competition, and Lily Gladstone's role is so small. Like, how do you beat this? Because the performance is as good, if not better, than Olivia Colman in The Favorite, which is already a top 10 performance of all time, in my opinion. Otherwise, could this win screenplay? It could. I'm not going to bet on it. The screenplay, I don't think, is the highlight of the movie. It's great. The highlight of the movie is Yorgos Lanthimos' direction. Is he winning? I still think it's Christopher Nolan's year, but I would love to see him win. He would be my personal pick. So what is this winning? I say cinematography. This movie pops off the screen. Every single frame is vibrant, is alive. It shifts shooting styles constantly. We'll go from a super wide fisheye lens, which distorts the whole image, to a little pocket pinhole camera where we're vignetted with a little circle that spotlights one actor or one little bit of the scene. And then we'll go to these beautiful close-ups. I don't know how you deny this. People might say Oppenheimer wins, but that movie just looks kind of normal. It's well shot, but it's just kind of normal. You've never seen anything quite like it. In the past, I thought this could win production design. I do think I'm changing my prediction back to Barbie, as well as costume design, keeping it there. So Barbie wins both of those. I'd previously said that Poor Things would take one of them. After seeing it, I don't think it'll beat Barbie, even though I might personally put it ahead. Barbie just has more going on. It's more flashy. But I do actually think, even if Bradley Cooper is that typical makeup actor winner like Brendan Fraser, Gary Oldman, we have a shot of Poor Things taking makeup. Willem Dafoe has so much makeup on, and not just that, the surgery scenes, the open skulls, the craniums, makeup could happen. So currently I have it winning 3 awards: Best Actress, Best Cinematography, and Best Makeup, and I've got it nominated for 9 more for a total of 12 nominations, which is the most nominated film of the Oscars this year.
Interesting. I know a lot of people are like, Oppenheimer is going to get 12 plus 13, 14. But a movie that just did have its premiere is The Iron Claw, which you and I were both a little hesitant on because it's like, why is it not playing any fest? That makes zero sense. Is A24 hiding a bad movie? Is it just taking a long time to finish? Is it just a commercial play? But people seem to be very much responding to it. Yeah. I know its premiere was in the town where it took place, and maybe it was more geared towards people who were going to like it, but it's had some subsequent viewings elsewhere, and the buzz has been remaining high. I still don't know if I'd buy this as an Oscar player, but I think it's another one of those A24 movies that are very critically acclaimed that just come up a little bit short in some multiple areas.
The Iron Claw right now is fighting for second fiddle for A24. It could actually become their first priority over Zone of Interest, but that might be a little bit of a reach. But it does damage Past Lives even more than Past Lives has already been damaged, because the buzz seems to be very, very, very strong. I can't wait to see it. Regardless, I want to hear more about it. I want to see some actual real critic reception rather than just pundits being like it was good, because like I don't trust pundits. But I am warming up on it. I think I moved it up to like my number 12 spot for Best Picture. It feels like a strong possibility at this time. Anyways, another thing that changed, this is not anything to do with the acting predictions for today, but still a Michael J. Fox story wins the Critics' Choice Documentary Award. Past winners of this category include Goodnight Oppie, Summer of Soul, Dick Johnson is Dead, Apollo 11, Won't You Be My Neighbor, Jane, and OJ Made in America. Those are all of the winners of this category, and you'll notice that the entire time this award has existed, the winner of the award has only been nominated twice. And it won those 2 times, but this is the award where if you win here, it seems like you're likely not to be nominated at the Oscars. So still a Michael J. Fox story. Does this change anything for it at the Oscars? No, I still do not think it gets nominated. A big question that we were talking about before is, does this change anything for anything that lost? Beyond Utopia, 20 Days in Mariupol. Does this make them weaker? My answer is no. No.
This is very interesting for Still, because it's one of those movies where I was like, if it makes a short list, maybe it creeps in. But a lot of those movies that you just mentioned that won missed the short list entirely. So it seems to me at least that Still is going to be one of, if not our only, but probably one of many big names that end up missing that documentary short list. And the last thing that we have before we dive into predictions is we just had Grammy nominations. That video will be coming out on this channel in a little bit of our reactions to some of the major categories. But Barbie racked up nominations, clearly showing something that I know I've been spewing on this channel for the last few weeks, and you have been as well, that the industry is going to love this movie. The Grammys showed it. Just wait till we get to some of the TV awards. Barbie is going to clean up nominations and is probably going to clean up some wins as well. So now you'll see how those factor into our predictions here today.
Now let's get into these acting predictions. And Dylan, you're taking Best Actress this time. And I wish I could say my piece on this because Emma Stone. But this is all you, bud.
Well, I've had Emma Stone at number 1 since we started these, and I took her away for like a month because I succumbed to peer pressure, not just from you, but from a lot of people.
Peer pressured you.
It was a lot of people. It wasn't just you, because everyone was like, Poor Things is coming out in September. No movies ever perform well in September. Clearly, there's no faith from the studio. Searchlight has other priorities. And then they sent it right back to December. I'm like, Poor Things, it's back. Emma Stone, number 1. I was like, she's not too young to win that second one. It's been long enough. This is a role that seems like you could win for. You just saw the movie. You fully agree. Yeah. So it is going to be the Stone sweep, barring Fantasia Barrino coming to the race with the color purple and getting unanimous love, which I don't think is going to happen, or Gladstone becomes the ultimate critic push of all time. No. So I think Emma Stone is winning this in the bag. Those are my top 3 at the moment. Maybe I'm crazy for having Barrino at my number 3. However, I'm going to keep it here until people have seen this movie, which I might see on Friday. That's my top 3. Here is where the category gets pretty interesting. Number 4, I'm making a bold call. I've had this for a little bit, but I'm solidifying it now. Kaylee Spaney, Priscilla. She won the Volpe Cup, and I've said ever since she won it, that stat is hard to beat when you're from an English language film. Those performances that win that award barely ever get snubbed in this category in the last decade. And I think she continues with that stat because let alone winning that award, she won that award over Carey Mulligan, which I think is important. And then Priscilla's been making money. General audiences are speaking to this. Is it making a lot of money? No, but it's performing very well for A24. It's made more than Past Lives already in just 3 weeks. It's going to continue to keep growing week in, week out. I think the buzz is here for Spaney. She's new, and can all of our nominees and all the acting categories be from Best Picture contenders? No, we need some from outside Best Picture, and I think Spaney fills this role up very well. Number 5, though, Huler, Mulligan. I gotta make a decision. Margot Robbie's there for Barbie. I think that she could have a resurgence, but it would need these to drop down another peg. And I think with Spaney coming into the race, Robbie's kind of dead. Unless Barrino is just a non-contender, then maybe she can come back and with that Warner Brothers push. So before I dive into Huler and Mulligan, Matt, what do you feel about my top 4? And do you think I'm crazy for having Spaney at number 4?
I also have Kaylee Spaney at number 4, so I don't think you're crazy for that. It's a performance that speaks volumes. If Ana de Armas could get in last year for Blonde, this is a similar type of performance, a similarly meek performance, but it's so much better.
I would agree.
Fantasia Barrino is the big question mark here. Why is it that she's not being pushed on marketing materials? She's a big star. Why is she the last build? She's the lead of the movie. Why are they not advertising her? Why are they saying, oh, it's a Taraji movie, it's a Danielle Brooks movie, and Fantasia Barrino? Maybe she's the odd one out here, and then we can get Carey Mulligan in there. I would lean Carey Mulligan over Sandra Hüller, but you've seen Maestro. You've seen Carey Mulligan's performance of this. You have said that she's really not in the movie as much as you'd expect her to be. So maybe she is the odd one out and Sandra Hüller stays in. But right now, I think I'm leaning that Sandra Hüller might miss.
Yeah, Mulligan feels very much like Michelle Williams from The Fabelmans last year. I know that Michelle Williams got into the category, but that category is a little bit deeper. I mean, we had Ana de Armas, and we had our one or only special nomination in that category. So it was pretty weak, so it made sense why she could still get in there. And I just don't know if she can get in this year when it's so stacked. I think it makes sense to have her, and especially if Hüller's not going to win a lot of these cricket prizes because they are going to Emma Stone. But until I see her start to lose those awards, I'm going to keep her in at 5, just because, again, if Anatomy's not in picture, that's another actor or actress that is not a Best Picture nominee that I can fill in, because we don't always have 20 for 20. Usually getting 15 for 20 is pretty good. It's usually more towards like that 12, 13 range. So we need to find some of these actors to put them into this range. And I think Hüller, I think Spaney, if they're not in picture, check this box off very well. But Mulligan has a great case. Netflix is pushing her. Netflix got Ana de Armas in last year. Why can't they get Carey Mulligan in for a movie that people actually seem to be more receptive to? That is a strong 6. I think our 5 are in that 6 somewhere. But Of Color Purple kind of flops. Margot Robbie, she's right back into this. We just said that Barbie is going to do well with industry. Oscars are industry. Golden Globes are industry. SAG is industry. I could see her hit each one of those nominations. Greta Lee, Natalie Portman, Tiana Taylor, those are my next in line. I think they're all dead. I think our 7 is here. I'm going to hear probably from you and people in the comments, Annette Bening, Nayad. I'm not biting on Nayad. Nayad at most is Golden Globe, and I wouldn't be shocked if she doesn't get into a category of 6 drama actresses at Golden Globe.
You got to give her more credit, because she is very likely going to get Golden Globe. She is going to get SAG. It's a performance that might not resonate with critics, and it's not going to resonate with us, but it is resonating with older people. She's a threat. I'd say at this point, more of a threat than Greta Lee, more of a threat than Tiana Taylor. Same level as Natalie Portman.
At least to me, I don't see Bening getting it at BAFTA. I don't see her getting it at SAG. That makes her 1 spot Golden Globe 6. You have Gladstone. You have Spaney. You have Hüller. You have Mulligan. That's 4. You need 2 more. Of Golden Globes likes Past Lives, that's Lee. That's 1 spot left. You have Portman. You have Bening. They could also do a Golden Globe thing and go with Angelina Ellis-Taylor for Origin, some other movies along those lines. I just don't really see anyone biting on Nayad, as we saw last year with a lot of bodies just avoiding the Empire of Light cast, avoiding the Sun cast. I know Nayad's not to that level of critical reception, but it feels like one of those movies where just no one bites on it throughout the whole season.
But here's a theory, though. Like, Hüller could miss Golden Globe. That is the opening for Annette Bening. Annette Bening's not getting the Oscar. I'm going to say that right now. She is not going to be nominated in that Oscar 5, but it is very possible that we see her in those more middle-brow awards. The Golden Globes and the SAG Awards could absolutely go for Annette Bening. They've done crazier things in past years.
Well, that brings us over to our Best Actor category, where you're taking this one this month.
I am taking it this month. There's going to immediately be some people who disagree with me on a few things, but I'll get to those a little bit later. Now, the top 3 I think is unshakable. I do actually think there's a chance that one of them drops off, but it does feel a little silly to predict that right now. Top 3 in order. Bradley Cooper for Maestro is winning. I think it's his time. This performance just screams to me like one of those 2010 roles just tailor-made for the Oscar, that Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour, Rami Malek, Bohemian Rhapsody, or Eddie Redmayne for Theory of Everything. This feels like all of those roles. Just right there. Just, bam. You're doing a bit of a caricature, you're putting on some makeup, bada boom, bada bing. That's an Oscar, baby. Now, Cillian Murphy is number 2. For Oppenheimer, that could happen, but it's a little bit more subtle. It's maybe going to do better with critics groups than Bradley Cooper will, but I think when we get to those televised awards, Cooper might sweep. He might take SAG, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, probably not BAFTA. BAFTA probably goes Cillian Murphy. For the most part, it's going to be Cooper, and then he gets his Oscar, finally, after all these years. Oppenheimer, it's a strong second. Leonardo DiCaprio, Killers of the Flower Moon, is my number 3. I don't really like this performance, and I just have a small feeling, maybe it's biased, but I have a small feeling that he might not be as safe as we think. He's probably safe, but I could see him missing either BAFTA or SAG. Not gonna say that right now, but I don't think he's as safe as the top two are. What do you think about that, Dylan?
To me, at least, if he could get in for Hollywood, he would get in here. I know he's not going to get the Golden Globe win that he got for Hollywood, but I just think that it's Danny DiCaprio at your own peril. I think if Killers remains top 5, top 6, he is a shoo-in here, and I think that just like you have him in here at your number 3, I think even if he does miss a BAFTA or maybe a SAG, he will still get the rest of the nominations that will make him stronger than the next people you have in line.
I think there's an argument that by the end of the year, Jeffrey Wright could be stronger than Leonardo DiCaprio is. Jeffrey Wright, I don't think he's going to miss anywhere. He's going to get in Critics' Choice. He's going to get in SAG. He's going to get in Golden Globe Comedy, and he's going to win Golden Globe Comedy. It's likely that he'll get in BAFTA, and people are going to say, oh, he was just a jury save. He was a jury save. But like he's going to get in BAFTA as well. He feels like he could be number 3, not number 4, but right now I'll just put him at number 4 because otherwise people will yell at me and I do not want to be yelled at. But yeah, I think he's just going to be a consistent person through the season. My number 5, which I know you're going to be mad at me for, Dylan, Andrew Scott, All of Us Strangers. Hear me out. He is going to sweep the trifecta. He will win New York Film Critics Circle, LA Film Critics Circle, the National Society of Film Critics, as well as the London Film Critics Circle, which is an unofficial trifecta member. Would really not be the trifecta anymore if you added a 4th prize, but London Film Critics kind of count. He is going to clean up with Critic Awards. He could get the Golden Globe nomination. He will get the BAFTA nomination. He could even get that Critics' Choice, get that SAG, and at that point, we got to take him seriously. He is consistently named as the best part of All of Us Strangers, the heart of the movie, the reason that this film is working as well as it is for critics.
If he does clean up that much, I'll agree with you. I don't see him nearly sweeping the trifecta. And
who do you think will win the trifecta?
Cillian Murphy will win at least one, if not multiple. Then I think that maybe Scott can take one as well. But after that point, I'm not sure where they'll go for the other. If it's Murphy again, maybe it's Scott getting 2. Or if maybe they go with someone like Domingo or they go with someone like Cooper, especially at New York, they could very much go Cooper.
Maybe New York would go for Cooper. But to me, Scott is winning 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 trifecta. And even if he just wins 2 out of 3, I still think we got to take him seriously. He is going to get BAFTA. He is going to get Golden Globe. And if he's getting
my
those
number 7.
televised awards, you know, well, the number 7, like the top 7, I think is just like, that's just what this race is right now.
It's like actress.
Exactly. You know, there's a top, and then there's just like everything else. And so to finish off my top 7, I've got Coleman Domingo for Rustin. The reason being, I do think that the ability to campaign is going to help. Getting on that campaign trail, probably with Obama as well, might help get some visibility for the role. I could definitely see a narrative build for Domingo. I'm dipping in confidence for him, but I do know he's going to get in a handful of places. You're joking if he's not getting in Golden Globe, if he's not getting in SAG, like this is tailor-made for those. And he could get in BAFTA. If he's getting all of those, it's very possible that he comes in here, but at whose expense? Anyways, my last in my viable contenders list is Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers. He seems like he's going to be the big snub, the one that people say is getting in all season long. Oh, it's his time. He's got to do it. But in the end, he's just not doing as much as everyone else. This year is really interesting because it's not about who's weak. There's just so many strong performances that are going to resonate with people. And y'all know I'm a little bit lower on my predictions for The Holdovers. I think it's getting 3 nominations total. And Paul Giamatti does not need to be a part of its package.
I would agree with that. That was my initial reaction coming out of The Holdovers at the film festival was he is the lesser of the 3, and in this category that's so stacked, he's an easy drop-off for someone like Domingo at that time with someone like Wright when he wasn't as strong as he's now become. Yeah. And honestly, the more I'm mulling over the fact that we need to have, I would say, at least 4 actors and actresses that are not in Best Picture nominees. I know you'll say Strangers is Best Picture, but Scott could fill one of those slots as well. I currently don't have him in, but he would be my number 7, where if he starts to win one of the trifecta, he would leapfrog Giamatti. And if he keeps doing well on the circuit, he could slide into my number 5 over Domingo. But I think with this category, it's Murphy, Cooper, 1, 2. DiCaprio, Wright, I think feel safe barring one of those films just collapsing. And then it's that 5 spot between Domingo. Giamatti would be on the love of the holdovers, and then Andrew Scott would be If Strangers keeps emerging into the race.
And just to rattle off some other names, I don't think any of them really have an argument right now. Barry Keoghan for Saltburn, Adam Driver for Ferrari, Matt Damon for Air, Joaquin Phoenix, Napoleon, Yu Teo, Past Lives, and one that I will kind of talk about a little bit. We have to keep an eye on Zac Efron for the Iron Claw. If the Iron Claw is getting these great reactions, maybe Zac Efron is one that we should be watching for here. But I do feel like even if the Iron Claw becomes huge, Zac Efron is not going to come along with it. Reason being, there's going to be bias against him. People will still think of him as the High School Musical guy, just like how Adam Sandler has been fighting that for 20 years now. Anytime he does a great dramatic performance, people go, oh, he's Adam Sandler. A counterpoint is Kristen Stewart, who did overcome it. It had a much harder path than we kind of expected. We kind of thought that Kristen Stewart would just be in. By the end, she was like a fringe nominee. To me, if Zac Efron's really just outstanding, then he could be a fringe nominee. Otherwise, even if he's just great, he's not in.
Last year, Efron could pose a viable threat for that empty 5th slot that we spent weeks like, who is it? Who is it? We don't know. But this year, we have a top 7 that feels great. And you talk about Critics' Choice, I don't even know they have room for Efron.
They won't. It's too much of a reach. Maybe this can help build goodwill for Zac Efron in future years, but it will not be this year.
That moves us into Supporting Actor, where I have a new number 1, and that is Robert. It's just a different Robert. Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. I think, we talk about the SAG strike ending, I think that he will be one of the most beneficiaries from the strike ending because it's Robert Downey Jr. Populist people love him. Critic people like him. Movie lovers love him. And I think he has a pretty clear path. Yes, you can make that case for Ryan Gosling as well. But I think with Oppenheimer being a picture frontrunner, and if Murphy maybe does not come out on top of actor, I think that Oppenheimer would need to take home an acting award in addition to director to walk home with Best Picture. And it's maybe best possibility is here in Supporting Actor. We know Downey Jr. is a great campaigner. He has an overdue narrative. Whether you believe that he's overdue or not, there is a narrative there. And he's giving what many people would consider the best performance of his career. It's all right there, built up. But maybe someone like a Ryan Gosling can come along. For me, what I would need to do to switch from Downey Jr. at this point after seeing Robert De Niro, which I think would be a fantastic winner, but it's just not the type of role that would win this award, is I need to see Gosling beat Downey Jr. in head-to-head matchups. And once I see that happen at award shows that matter, then I will pivot a little bit. If it's little critics groups here and there, I don't care about that. I need to see a televised award show that goes with Downey over Gosling.
Well, I mean,
the same way with Will Smith versus Cumberbatch. I know it's not the same one-for-one comparison, but that year everyone's like, oh, it's Cumberbatch. Will Smith, he's just the big guy, and it's just like, but yeah, he's losing all these critics groups, but they're not the people who are going to vote for him. The TV awards are the people who want him there.
Could you not make a comparison that Will Smith is more Ryan Gosling than anything? Because it's populist. It's like a big performance that's iconic. Ryan Gosling is populist. It's not like with Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog. It was highbrow. It's not something that was going to be easy to connect with. Ryan Gosling is. I'd see that comparison more with Robert De Niro, where Robert De Niro could be that Benedict Cumberbatch, where maybe those highbrow critics go with De Niro instead of Downey, but then they go with Downey later. But I'd see the same thing for Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling, he's going to sweep the trifecta. He's going to win New York, LA, National Society. It's going to happen. It's the most iconic performance of the year. It's a comedy performance that people have really been rallying behind. He's going to clean up. He's going to win SAG. He's going to win Critics' Choice. He is going to win Golden Globe. Honestly, I could see a clean sweep for Ryan Gosling.
If the clean sweep happens, then it happens. But I believe that Downey has just as well as a chance to have a clean sweep. For me, for Gosling, I just don't know if I can buy a fully only comedic performance to win this award. Because you can go back to other comedic performances. Ke Huy Quan last year, he still has some sort of drama in there. Gosling does not. Gosling is just joke haha guy. He's doing joke haha amazingly, but are they going to give a strictly comedic award? I'm not sure, especially when you have someone to Downey Jr.'s notoriety and a Best Picture, what I predict winner. I just think it's too good to pass up on, but Gosling is a great alternative. Just again, I would need to see him win awards for me to switch over. Robert De Niro in A Just World, I think he's my favorite of these three. I think he's doing the most impressive work, but it's not the type of performance that wins. I see that now after seeing it. I still think there's a small angle. In another year, he could win this award. It's just when you have Downey Jr., you have Gosling here, the roadblocks, they're a little taller. Then that brings us to the area of this category where I think stuff gets interesting. I still have Mark Ruffalo in for Poor Things, but you add to the list of people who keep saying Dafoe is better than Ruffalo. He is more impactful, and to me, that pokes a little hole in Mark Ruffalo, which I think is giving a very similar performance, at least on paper, to what Ryan Gosling's doing. They're going to have two of those goofy, over-the-top guy performances. Maybe not. So Ruffalo could drop, but I want to wait till I see the movie. I want to wait for some more awards before I officially get him off of my 5. And as I mentioned in my actress category, I need to start looking for non-Best Picture nominees in these acting categories. We had Brian Tyree Henry last year, and a Small Apple movie no one really cared about, and he got in for the nomination because people said he's just that good. And you know who's in a small movie from a streamer that people don't really care about, but they keep just saying he's that good? Charles Melton. So I have him in as my 5 slot. My Oppie double nomination is off the board with Matt Damon out of my top 5. Willem Dafoe is also just out there looking in. Dafoe is my 6. Damon is my 7 at the moment. I'm feeling more Charles Melton as the days go by. I think he will continue to surprise. Will he hit every precursor? No. But I think he'll hit the right ones. I think he'll hit BAFTA. I think that he could hit Golden Globe in a category of 6. And I think those two can be enough to get him into the Oscar nomination.
We come to talk about Matt Damon, though. Do you not think that Robert Downey Jr. might be hurt by the factor that a lot of people can't decide who the best supporting actor in that movie is?
I think that's fake. I think anyone who says that just wants a reason not to say Downey Jr. I don't believe Reddit when they say stuff like that.
But there's already significant backlash around Robert Downey Jr.
It's not true. It's fake.
I already see people online. Even you.
It's online.
Even you, when we were first talking about Oppenheimer, you're like, I don't get the hype around Robert Downey Jr. I don't get it.
It was the first viewing. I've seen it 3 times now. I get the hype now. He sells it. He buys it. I would nominate the whole cast if I could. That's just the issue, is the whole cast is great. But when he's the only one getting into the category, I think that even if Damon gets in here, I think that the Oppenheimer craze will be to the Everything Everywhere level once we hit the Winnie period. And I think that he comes along for the journey.
Maybe, but then I think people would act like he's much more of a Jamie Lee Curtis than a Ke Huy Quan. The way that people are talking about his award online, again, I know it's just online spaces, but the way people are already talking about Robert Downey Jr. is like, is he really a front runner? Like, are we really going to give it to this?
That just goes back to my Will Smith comparison. That's what people said all season with King Richard. Will Smith is just trying too hard. It's not that good of a performance. It's fine. This isn't an award winner, but when you get to the TV awards, the ones that matter, he won them all.
I don't know. I don't think you can make the equivalence, because Robert Downey Jr. is an award, like, that's a performance that should resonate with those more highbrow people. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but we'll have to see, because I think we're both basically predicting like a clean sweep for one of them. And to me, I really just think Ryan Gosling is so iconic in this role that it's gonna happen. Charles Melton, to me, feels like the person that shows up at a bunch of critics groups, shows up at SAG, Golden Globes, and then just is absent. So I don't have Charles Melton in, but I have him right on the outside. I do think he'll get in pretty much everywhere that's not the Oscars. Now, with Willem Dafoe, the thing that I've been thinking recently, after seeing Poor Things, I see both of them getting nominated, but if only one gets in, I kind of think it's Dafoe. Kind of like with Belfast, when everyone's like, oh, it's going to be Balfe and Dench, or it's going to just be Balfe, which is kind of what people are saying right now. Like, it's going to be Ruffalo and Dafoe, or it's just Ruffalo. But I actually think that Dafoe is more of a Judi Dench here, is going to be the one that people don't think is getting in, but does, because, you know, he's got the heart. He is a significant role in the film. Maybe he's not this over-the-top, overacting goofball, but that might actually hurt Ruffalo when it comes to those actual awards. Regardless, Ruffalo is going to do better with critics' prizes. He's going to do better at those smaller televised awards. The question is, Willem Dafoe, can he come along with, or is only one of them going to get in? But it also reminds me of, like, Stephanie Hsu versus Jamie Lee Curtis. When Stephanie Hsu was the one that everyone's like, she's the most amazing part of this movie, and then Jamie Lee Curtis was just sitting at the side. Which one of them came out on top? Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't think Dafoe will win, But if only one of them gets nominated, I do kind of think it's Dafoe.
The one, I think, fault in that Belfast comparison is Katrina Balfe and Jamie Dornan are not Mark Ruffalo. They were essentially no names.
Yes,
You may know Jamie Dornan from 50 Shades and Katrina Balfe from this or from that, but Mark Ruffalo is in the MCU. He's a previous Oscar nominee, and he's had a long career. I don't think that would be the reason. I think they would both get in, or if Ruffalo does miss, I think it's more they have Gosling. Do they really need Ruffalo as well? Dominic says as my number 8. I never really bought him for a nomination. After seeing the movie, I warmed up to it a little bit. It's just this category. I don't know who he would overtake in the category. I still think that one of the Poor Things guys would be stronger, and I think Charles Melton would get more of that push than someone like Dominic Sessa. They're going to go for someone who's not an industry favorite or a previous nominee. Then we have Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction. Maybe there's a little bias coming in. I thought he was the highlight supporting performance from that movie. But if American Fiction is super strong and it gets a random supporting nomination, he's the most likely. He's the biggest name in the cast. He can campaign if he gets out there. I know Emmys and Oscars aren't the same thing, but he's been successful at Emmy campaigning. If he can get on the Oscars thing and Amazon pushes him, maybe he pops up. I'm not going to predict it. And then Coleman Domingo for The Color Purple. I just needed a number 10 because John Magaro is 100% dead. And Domingo fills that 10 slot pretty well until I see the movie.
Sterling K. Brown could rise higher. And The Holdovers. Man, this would have been a 6-7 nomination movie most years. This year is just too strong.
I think what hurts Sessa too is just like he is so young. And
what are you talking about? He's 33.
Yeah, 33. Wow.
Yeah.
But I like having Melton in here now, especially because I want to start looking for some more non-Best Picture nominees. Because I looked at my predictions a few weeks ago. I'm like, I really only have like one person in my nominees that aren't in picture. And I did some research, like, when's the last time like that's happened? And like every year, there's at least 3, if not 4, if not 5, if not more, not from picture nominees. So I'm starting to try to find areas to slide them in. It's hard when you don't think they have the picture love to get some of these above the line nominations.
So I'm going to take supporting actress next. And this category is fucking weird. It's so strange. What's going on here? And just like last year, because the frontrunner pulled and went into a different category, we're currently in search of anyone as a potential winner here. There is no frontrunner at all, just like last year. We were thinking, oh, could it be Carrie Condon? It's kind of a small role, but like, which feels like Randolph or Blunt. And then we were like, oh, is it Angela Bassett? I don't know. Maybe it's Angela. Who knows? And then in the end, it was just Jamie Lee Curtis. There was no frontrunner. It was weird. And this year feels very similar. We don't have a frontrunner. We are in search of anyone who could be a potential winner. So instead of going through my list as normal, instead I'm going to just talk about who could be that winner. Because the weird thing with this year is that anyone here could be a win contender, or they could straight up not be nominated. My list is not in order of who is most likely to win. In fact, I think some of the people who are most likely to be nominated have no chance at a win. Emily Blunt, I do not see winning. The two that we haven't seen yet, the ones that no one has got their eyes on, are the Color Purple ladies, Taraji P. Henson, Danielle Brooks. Maybe they become the easy frontrunner when Color Purple is seen this week. It's going to be seen, I think, on Wednesday for the first time. By the time this video is out, we will know, are the Color Purple women actually real things for the Oscars? Who knows? I don't. But it's very possible that Taraji P. Henson becomes a frontrunner, or Danielle Brooks. Danielle Brooks, her role is the one that typically gets awards on Broadway, but Taraji P. Henson has more emotional work to do. She's more of a star. I personally think Taraji, despite having maybe less of a typically awarded role, she's going to be the one that goes through if that pans out. We could default to Randolph or Blunt as smaller roles in movies that people love. You could add Erica Alexander to that conversation, although she is not being pushed by MGM Amazon at all. But if someone just coattails along for a movie that the Academy loves, maybe Erica Alexander could be in that conversation. I don't see any of those three winning. They just seem like they don't have the roles for it, even though, you know, Randolph and Blunt seem very strong for nominations right now. Alternate win contenders, I could see Juliette Binoche for The Taste of Things, Claire Foy for All of Us Strangers, becoming the top 2 most selected people by critics They could be the top 2 critics winners, and they're probably going to split the trifecta between the 2 of them. So could critical love for these more low-key movies, Strangers, Taste of Things, could that push them into these categories and then push them to a win? Possibly. But I don't know. The Taste of Things would be a wild thing to predict right now. That would be way out there. Likewise, Claire Foy, I do have in my top 5 right now. I think Strangers is strong enough for her to get in. The question is, can she turn that into win power? I don't know. I'm going to see the movie soon. I'll be able to speak on that a little bit more sooner. And then right now, Rosamund Pike feels very strong for Saltburn. Saltburn seems like a nothing movie everywhere else, but I've heard nothing but praise for Saltburn. And like you're saying, we need those nominees from non-Best Picture nominees, and Saltburn, Rosamund Pike could be that. I know you might say Penelope Cruz for Ferrari. I don't buy it. I just don't think Ferrari is a thing at all whatsoever. Could say the same thing for Saltburn, but I've heard more people talking about Rosamund Pike than I have about Penelope Cruz. Otherwise, maybe Julianne Moore pops up here. Maybe Jodie Foster. I don't believe it. We could see the comeback of Viola Davis for Air, America Ferrera for Barbie, or maybe another Killers of the Flower Moon lady with Cara Jade Myers. I don't know. This category is weird. Anyone could win. Anyone could drop off. Literally, my number 1 is not safe. Every other category, we've been like, oh yeah, the top 3, top 4, they're safe. I have no idea. The only person I'd say is safe here is Divine Joy Randolph. She's the only one that's safe, and she is, I do not think, a win contender right now.
I would include Emily Blunt into the safe conversation, but I could see the variance where she could miss. I think she's the second safest among our bunch here, but obviously that doesn't mean you're 100% into the category. I also have Taraji P. Henson at number 1. I kind of like how, like, at least on our server, I kind of like one day, oh, Henson, it's the push, and then like now people are kind of warming up to him, like, yes, I feel vindicated. I've been saying this for a little bit, but yeah, I think there's a world where they both get in, or there's a world where they neither get in. Actually, you're supporting actor 5. You don't have Melton. Who's your 5th?
Defoe.
Okay, so you do have a double nomination.
I do.
I was about to say, I don't see one here. I currently do have both Color Purple ladies getting in, but that can change. By the time this video will be posted, I probably would have seen it, as well as a lot of other pundits who will see it about 2 days earlier. So buzz on those could be solidified, could be dead. I understand your reasoning for Saltburn. I think the same reasoning works for Cruz and Ferrari, as you mentioned as well. I just think Saltburn is a harder sell. Cruz has proven she can get in for movies that no one cares about. Parallel Mothers, she got into a lead actress field, which was also pretty desolate that year. And yep, that as well. So I think she has the track record. It's just Ferrari doesn't seem like people care. But American Fiction would make sense if they pushed her, but they're not. Naya, Jodie Foster, makes sense, but also, why Jodie Foster if you're not doing Benning? Julianne Moore seems perfect for one of these non-Best Picture supporting contenders, but that's such an unlikable character. I don't know if people are going to go out of their way to vote for her, but if this category is so desolate, then maybe she's just in after all. And May December is essentially The Lost Daughter. Screenplay, 2 supporting nominations, and that's it.
This is one of the hardest ones this year. Every year it feels like we have 1 or 2 categories where we're just like stumped. And this year I am stumped with supporting actress.
With all that being said, though, definitely let us know down below what are some of your bold predictions in these acting categories. The strike is over. People can be out campaigning. You'll want to keep an eye out on Twitter or on wherever you get your news, or if it's on our Discord server, which you can join down below, as well as dropping a like, a comment, a subscription. Stay involved. We have new content each and every day. Plus, we have, I think, a pretty fun community here that we have built, and I would love to have you included a part of that. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this is Fantasy Filmball.